Guys, we almost had that big name player-to-player trade. Not quite.
Not quite. Those are two separate trades, and it's so rare in the NFL to get those big names traded for each other. Remember back in the day we saw Champ Bailey traded for Clinton Portis.
That was the best.
You don't see many of those. Oftentimes it's a 7th-round conditional pick or it's something different like that. And even in the NBA we saw DeMarcus Cousins pretty much traded for Buddy Hield and a future pick, where those were two big names you could have the headline. So we went around the table a little bit yesterday and said, what would be a sensible trade involving two big names in the NFL this offseason? So these are all fictional trades, but ones that we consider dream trades that might make sense for both teams. I'm going to start first. I'm going to look at Kirk Cousins with the Washington Redskins right now in a situation where it looks like the Redskins are still resisting giving him this long-term deal, meaning if they franchise him again, they'll be paying him another $24 million on a one-year deal. They paid him $19 million last year. That's going to end up being close to $45 million over 2 years for Kirk Cousins. If you're not going to extend him long-term, why not trade him and start again? So here's a deal for a team that is quarterback hungry and a coach that has worked with them before. Here's my fictional trade. Kirk Cousins traded to the San Francisco 49ers for Carlos Hyde, the running back, and the 33rd overall pick. So essentially, it would be Cousins for Hyde, who's a running back entering now his 4th year, whatever it is, his 3rd year. Makes $3.6 million, a lot more palatable if you are the Redskins. And then you get the 2nd pick in the 2nd round. So you would have a 1st-round pick, a 2nd pick, a 2nd round. And then in the free agency market, if you want to sign a Brian Hoyer or a Mike Glennon or a Matt Schaub or do something of that nature, you can get a rookie quarterback, you can get a veteran quarterback, you pick up Carlos Hyde if you're the Redskins, and then you're off the hook for Kirk Cousins, who it doesn't seem like they're dying to lock up long-term. I ask you guys at the table, Kirk Cousins to San Francisco, who would still keep their 1st-round pick, for Carlos Hyde, who's been basically their only offensive player the past 2 years that's been a stud, and then also their 2nd-round pick. What do you guys make of it?
So who's left playing quarterback for the Redskins then? One of those old guys or a rookie?
You can draft a rookie, or you can bring in a guy like a Mike Glennon, a Brian Hoyer. You can start Colt McCoy, who's been the backup there, and they actually like.
Carlos Hyde better be good, my man. He's going to get a lot of carries in that trade. So, Peter, what we're doing here, this exercise is make-believe. It's sort of almost fantasy, what we'd love to see, what would titillate us in the trade fronts.
Yeah, but also, in this case, makes sense financially. To say, we're going to trade Romo for Cousins, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't work like that.
It's like a realistic.
This is a realistic deal. And if you're the 49ers and you're looking at your quarterback situation, Kaepernick's not coming back likely, Gabbert's not coming back. You're going to draft a guy, maybe pick up a Matt Schaub or a Brian Hoyer, who we've mentioned. Why not go and just roll the dice out? Kyle Shanahan coached Kirk Cousins for 3 years in Washington.
And there's something to be said about the fact that Kirk Cousins and the Washington Redskins haven't got on the same page as of yet. So the long-term idea of him being in Washington isn't quite there yet. So dealing him to San Francisco, it does make sense. And like you said, the relationship with Kyle Shanahan, I think that makes this very interesting.
You know, it's funny that the NBA versus the NFL, we're talking about things that actually might make sense. The NBA doesn't have to make sense. We just saw Boogie Cousins go to New Orleans. It doesn't matter. Right after the All-Star game. Right after the All-Star game, that gets told on live TV is incredible. But we have to try to make sense here. I want to go for some star power. The one you mentioned, Champ and Portis, was incredible. Clinton Portis on the sideline for the Broncos wearing a pro wrestling belt. On the side, the next thing he's traded. First carry as a Redskin goes for a long touchdown. It was incredible. So I'm going to bring it to New York, too. I'm going to say that the Arizona Cardinals trade David Johnson for Odell Beckham Jr. The big trade. This is what I'm thinking. All right, Ben McAdoo finally says, listen, we are the New York Giants. I cut my teeth as an O-line coach at Fairfield University. We're going to run the football. I am tired of this. It didn't work out this year. I need it to work next year. We're going to get back to being who we are. Give me the best running back in football, and we'll give you maybe the best wide receiver. We've had a few problems with Odell. He's a fantastic player, but we have Sterling Shepard. We have Eli. We want to run the ball. And, guys, I think Ben McAdoo knows that the best DJs always come to New York. I'm talking Tiesto, Swedish House Mafia, right, Kay? Afrojack.
Saint-Tropez.
That's right. DJ David Johnson. And let's just think for 1 second what the New York Post could do with David Johnson and his last name, Peter. I mean, it would be a field day. Think of the T-shirts we wore in 7th grade, including the word big. You know what I'm getting at?
I got you.
Meanwhile,
he's not going to give you anything. We all have met him. He's soft-spoken and quiet.
His name does all the heavy lifting. His name and his game. You're right. He doesn't have the New York personality. Odell does. The name of his game.
Anti-Odell.
Meanwhile, we're getting what?
On the flip side, though.
Okay. Meanwhile, we got what? 1 season left, maybe, from Larry Fitzgerald. 1 season season left from Carson Palmer. The passing game went down from 2nd to 9th last year.
They
Maybe
wanna
this
win
is a bring it
now.
all. They want to win now. And look, running back, we've shown before you can get a scrap heap running back and get 1,000 yards. It won't be David Johnson, but he can be a 1,000-yard back. Maybe you pick up Leonard Fournette in the draft. You got a decent pick in the Cardinals. There is your plan. DJ is an incredible player, but maybe we've gotten an incredible run out of him. And we're going to get Odell and a punt return too.
Okay, so I like DJ in a Giants uniform. It makes sense. They need help in the running game.
Love it.
Could have possibly won a Super Bowl if they had a guy like David Johnson. But then Odell in Arizona with all those receivers.
No boats in Arizona.
There's no boats.
No water in Arizona.
There's enough balls to go around.
That's a great. Well, you tell me, Nate. You're the wide receiver.
I'm not quite
Michael Floyd's
sure.
gone.
Michael Floyd's gone. Fitzgerald is still there. They still have Nelson. They got Brown. They got all these guys that want the ball now. I'm not sure Odell
likes the ball?
exist and that he can coexist with those other guys.
Football Kanye in the desert needs the ball a little more.
He might have matured over this offseason.
Poking holes in your jeans.
I like Odell being on a team where he is the man because deservedly he needs the ball as much as he can.
And the contracts actually, it wouldn't be that crazy a deal. I think it would
Rookie
work on their
deals.
salary cap. They're both on their rookie deals. But here's what it is. Odell Beckham is a superstar in New York City. He is the big ticket item of the New York Giants. He didn't break the law. He didn't do anything absurd. They're not trying to get rid of Odell Beckham, Kyle. He's the star.
I like the trade, though. I like the trade.
David Johnson's pretty good.
Remember New York Giants, Peter, you grew up with?
Otis Anderson.
The ball.
Yeah.
Otis Anderson.
Rodney Hampton.
Exactly. The three-headed Earth, Wind, and Fire. Can you run the ball? No, they can't. They need to go get help, and it's David Johnson from the desert. That's my fantasy trade.
It's
fun. I think that's the point.
What do you guys at home think? Hashtag GMFB.
I like that one.
I'm going to go back to the well for mine. I've been this broken record for like 7 months. Let's go back to my hometown. Let's go to Chicago.
Let's go.
Peter, you want to talk dollars of trade? Here's what you got to do, Chicago. You cut Jay Cutler, saving them $14 million in cap space.
You're done with
overall.
Cutler.
I like it already, Kay.
You get like a $2 million hit. You call up New England, who you have rapport with. You've made trades with them in the past. We're talking Marty Bell and Marty B and McClellan.
Yep.
You had training camp practice with them. You've got Chris Long and Kyle Long. There's rapport there, right? You call and you say, give us Jimmy G. This is what I need to see. Bring him back to Chicago, and Chicago will give them Kyle Fuller, and they will give them a 36th overall pick, which is a second-round pick, right? So I think that needs to happen. Kyle Fuller coming off an injury. They need to look at Logan Ryan. Logan Ryan is a free agent. He could be gone. They need a corner, and he's sort of, I'm not going to say he's fallen out of favor, but doesn't have the best situation right now, I think, in Chicago. Coming off an injury, this is the kind of guy Bill Belichick loves to take in and make a stud. Give them Jimmy Garoppolo. He's got a year remaining on his deal. The Patriots, all this talk about, oh, don't trade Jimmy G, he's the future. His deal is up. He's going to get paid. He's going to go somewhere, anywhere. Get something for him when you can. They're going to lose him in the offseason, I think. Someone's going to pay him. So trade him to Chicago.
I love it.
Making a deal with the devil with New England. You've got to be careful, but I love Garoppolo.
Fuller's like this first-round pick who sort of underperformed. Then he was injured. Now he's sort of like going under the radar. Belichick sees him, knows him.
He's entering the final years of his contract, Kyle. And what I like about this, Kay, is you're not giving up the Bears' first-round pick, which is a top 5 pick. So you keep that, and then you get a franchise quarterback. But the key that you said was it's time to just cut bait with Cutler, huh?
It is. I think it is.
Come on, yes, please.
Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Peter, you think that they're going to go once more into the breach, dear friends, with Cutler? This is going to be haven't we done it?
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was a wrap last season.
Alshon's up too. That's
I'll say this. Dow
Loggins.
I mean, we talk about how great Josh McDaniels is. Dow Loggins got a lot out of Brian Hoyer and Matt Barkley last year. You have to think if Garoppolo's going to go to some offensive coordinator, Loggins might be the guy. Okay, I love it because of the Eastern Illinois connection. You said it. He is an
He's from
Illinois
Arlington
guy.
Heights, Illinois. It's a western suburb. It's like he would have a huge fan.
Ryan Pace, GM of the Bears. Are you listening? Are you
Tony Romo,
listening?
though, also. So
Right,
there's
Eastern
that
Illinois. Exactly
drama
right.
to fill in as
I
well.
like.
So that's
I love
my
anything
trade.
with Garoppolo in Chicago.
I know. I want Garoppolo back in Chicago.
All right, can I dive in?
Dive in.
All right,
So do a triple Lindy.
Are we talking about trades that make sense, or are we just talking about Blockbuster? Because I got
Whatever
a Blockbuster.
you want, whatever you
I
want,
got a doozy. I got 2 guys that, for their respective teams, are guys you would not want to see play anywhere else. Now, here's the thing about my deal. There's a lot of moving parts. So, first part.
Let me follow you.
You have to unretire these guys. They have to re-sign with their team. And if you kind of think about where I'm
Montana
going,
for Elway.
this
I
makes
love
sense.
it. Let's do it.
Now, here's the thing. When I say their names, just say, no, these guys are with my team forever. But when I say the trade, you're going to think to yourself, it makes sense.
Okay.
We get Calvin Johnson to unretire. He signs back with the Lions.
All right, you know him. That
I
can
know.
happen.
And you know,
text messages
away?
Detroit, they don't want to let Calvin go.
Sure.
but they had trouble running the ball this year. Ding, ding, ding. Next, you get Marshawn Lynch to unretire, sign back with the Seahawks.
Look at those
Seattle, they don't want to let Marshawn go.
Where did you dream this up?
I dreamed it up last night when I got the segment in my email. I said, this is going to work. So here's the thing. You trade Calvin Johnson, Megatron, to Seattle for Marshawn Lynch, beast mode, to Detroit. The passing game in Seattle, it's great. You got Doug Baldwin, you got Jimmy Graham, but they could use a little help in the passing. They need one big, flashy star. And here's the thing about Marshawn going to Detroit. We were talking all year. What is Detroit going to do if they can't run the ball and they couldn't run the ball?
They burned them.
Now, here's the thing about these teams. They would not like their guy to go anywhere.
Yeah, they don't
but
care.
It makes sense. Seattle would take Calvin Johnson.
Sure.
And Detroit will definitely take Marshawn Lynch. And I like the fact that Calvin Johnson fits the mold. He doesn't talk. He's like Doug Baldwin. He just goes out there, shows up and plays. They're very similar. They're just about that action, boss.
Yeah.
So for me, if you can get these guys on retire list, and I get it, Calvin, Dancing with the Stars, Marshawn, you're doing Willies in the street, dodging buses across seas.
Scotland.
All right, enough is enough, guys. You had your break. Let's get back to football. We need the greats back in the game. So I got Megatron for beast mode, Seattle, Detroit.
You know the people of Detroit. How would they receive beast mode? They worship.
They would love him because he fits the mold.
Right.
I mean, you talk about Detroit, hard-nosed, blue-collar, everything that Detroit is, that's exactly how Marshawn Lynch runs. I think it would be a great fit. Now, the key is, can you get these guys to unretire? The money is all about the money.
You better cough up some money, man.
I like the trade. I think Seattle gets the better part of the trade. Because,
Really?
Yeah, because Calvin went out on top. Calvin, what he had, like 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns in 2015?
Yeah,
he went out still performing at a high level. Marshawn Lynch battled through some
Marshawn
injuries,
did that on
right?
purpose.
You
He was
think?
ready to go.
Guys, rest.
He's like,
All right.
I'm done.
All right.
It's like, I'm done.
I got one
We'll
more.
see.
So Babe Ruth for Willie Mays.
Can we throw in Mickey Mantle and a 4th round pick? Okay.
A bag of M&Ms.